Big global shifts, a bold local reforms, and a market that's losing some of its puff. Let's break it all down. And g'day folks, it's Matt Hayson here with the word on everything impacting Sydney's property market this week. Well, overnight, the US Federal Reserve has cut its cash rate from 4.25 down to 4%. It's the first rate cut in the US in 9 months, and Jerome Powell has signalled more cuts could also be on the way, with policymakers in the US expecting rates will be at 3.5% by the end of the year, with further cuts in October and also December. Now, this is an encouraging signal for our own RBA and the prospect of further rate cuts here in Australia. Locally, despite consumer spending edging higher, forecasts are still pointing to another rate cut in likely November. Also this week, the Commonwealth Bank, they've shifted, revealing a 2-year fixed rate mortgage at just 4.99%. Now, fixed rate options across all of the big four major banks are now sitting in the 4s. Also, some very good news for homeowners this week, with Premier Chris Minns delivering his bluntest message yet to councils. The era of slow restrictive approvals is over. From now on, minor renovations, the deck, the attic conversion, the extra bedroom must be signed off within 10 days. If councils drag their feet, wait for it, they'll be automatically approved. That's just wow. Minns has said he hasn't met a single Sydney homeowner who hasn't endured a nightmare over renovation approval. Months lost, endless paperwork, councils acting as if the default answer is no. Well, this reform flips the onus. Councils can no longer sit on applications until they get around to it. It's another shot across the bow of local government that has for too long been unnecessarily authoritarian and resistant to change. The truth is, these aren't radical developments. People are often requesting their day-to-day improvements to make people strengthen their homes and their communities. Minns' message was very clear this week. We cannot keep doing this, and the change is expected to shift New South Wales from currently having the worst to the best planning system in the nation. Amen on that one. And here's something else this week. The media are starting to backtrack on the hot spring market narrative. Now, we've been saying this consistently for weeks, that we're not seeing the hot market the headlines have been pushing. This week, it's been a far more subdued tone coming through. The preliminary clearance rates have dipped for the second consecutive week, was mentioned in the article. Listings are increasing, and Tim Lawless at Cotality has suggested that the growing spring volumes are beginning to outpace demand. That said, he and SQM's Louis Christopher both agree that the market is still strong overall, underpinned by the 3 rate cuts so far this year. But there's no question that affordability challenges remain. The sugar hit from the third cut has now settled, and we're seeing that play out in real time across the market. The buyers, they are remaining a little bit cautious and tentative. I've said it all year that we need at least 4 rate cuts to edge this market past neutral, and the numbers don't lie. Once again, the preliminary clearance rate is showing the accuracy and the real market movement sideways, and the headlines in the media are wrong. It's a poor metric to keep using. You don't go to your doctor and ask for half the diagnosis, so why are headlines running off half-baked data? Now, here's the final numbers. Again, and the real story, 1,115 auctions last week, a 53% clearance rate on Saturday, a 47% clearance rate midweek, and overall just a clearance rate of 51%. So let's be clear about where we are right now in this market. Buyers, they are cautious. They commit when they see value though, and there are plenty of people out there attending our open homes, looking, observing and watching, but fewer are willing to act. The depth of the buyer pool is a little bit thin, and we saw that last week with only 24% of all of the listed auctions actually selling under the hammer or at auction. So weeks ago, I said that the rising volumes would test the overall strength of the market, and so far, the market is faltering. But here's the thing, the margin between success and failure remains pretty thin. There's often only a gap of 5 to 8% between what makes a seller ecstatic and where the wider market stalls. So right now, it's sellers who are having to curb on that margin rather than buyers that are pushing higher. And we can't ignore the context that Sydney remains at record high selling prices, levels never seen before. Now, a dose of realism over optimism is always wise at this point. So this week, I'm calling calling the CH Market Mood Meter a 6.5 out of 10. So buyers, pay attention to this. Some of the best properties that we've seen in years are currently now on the market. Now sellers also pay attention. Supply's risen, buyers have choice, and you need to stay connected to your feedback, and that's critical for your selling success. So that's the word on this market this week, and I look forward to seeing you out and about, and I'll catch you all next week.